welcome back. So I hope you've done the exercises of the previous videos, right? I hope you built the couple of APIs and published them via the API gateway. If you have any questions or if you're struggling with them, please do not hesitate. Reach out to anyone in the Slack channel. Just openly ask out any questions, right? And somebody would definitely help you out. I'm almost always there reaching out to people on Slack channel. So if you need any help, feel free to post any questions there. Right. So we've just experienced the life cycle of the API management. Right. We first built the APIs using Logic Apps, right? But we started with the blank API, then we added the operation, then we added the backend. In the backend, we chose that when this operation is called, which API in the backend should be triggered, right? So that all worked fine, right? Now let's touch base upon one more very important pillars of the API management that we studied in the API management chapter, right? It's about analytics. So we briefly touched upon this subject that any API gateway tool, offers some of these basic functionalities. These are offered by default in any of the API gateway tools, whether you use Azure or you use MuleSoft or Google or AWS. Any API management would offer some level of analytics, right? So now that we have already built, few APIs and we've tested them, let's go ahead and see how the analytics work in Azure API management, right? Let's hop onto the Azure portal, and I'm on the home page of the Azure portal right now. And then let's go to the API management. This is where you will have your multiple API gateways, right? Let me click on the Learn 360 gateway that I have created. So this is where I have published all of the APIs that we've created so far, right? So as of now, we have 4 APIs: CI 101 language API, Eco API, which is by default created by Azure for us, and then Items API is what we just created. And then there is another language API that we had created earlier, right? Now you want to be able to, analyze the usage of the APIs, right? That's the most important use of any API gateway. You may have eventually published hundreds of APIs, but you also want to be able to analyze the performance of each of the APIs, who is calling these APIs at what frequency, and you need to find all of those details so that you can fine tune your gateway, right? So on this left panel, if you scroll down in the monitoring, right, there's the first option called analytics. Now there are all of these other options. I strongly suggest you to go through them in detail, but for now I'm going to cover the analytics, which is the basic analytics of all of the APIs and their operations on Azure. So the first one is the timeline, right? So right now it's only showing me the today's operations. Here, let me change the time range to last 90 days, right? Even though this is not, heavily used, I'm just using this to record the sessions for this course, right? So last 90 days, and here you can see in what particular day, how many requests you've received in total for all the APIs. And it also shows you various colors here, right? So the green one is the successful request, and then the red ones are the failed request, right? So it shows you everything that you need to know right here. The orange ones are the unauthorized requests, right? So this is the timeline. And in this timeline, you can also see some of the other timeline related data, that how much data has been transferred via these APIs on which particular day, right? There are also the response time. So some days you may have a huge load, and that would eventually impact the response time. But this would give you that details, right? That which particular day you received the additional load and when you did not have any load, right? So this is where you get to see all of your data. Again, cache, we have not touched upon the caching yet, right? But again, I strongly suggest you read about that, right? Caching, helps with your API performance, right? Let's see what else do we have here, right? So you can choose your custom date range here, and you can also choose a particular time frame. That if you just want to get the data for 1 hour, for example, particular half an hour range, right? You can choose the time as well. So after timeline, you also have geography, right? That tells you the usage of your APIs based on the geography. So I can see right now I have requests coming in from US and UK, and how many requests, right? How many failed requests, unauthorized requests, everything based on that geography. The third one we have is API. So now you can view the performance and analytics based on each of these APIs, right? So here the first one is the language API, and the same analytics, you can see how many requests, how many failed requests, how many unauthorized requests, what was the response time and average response time, how much data has been transferred, right? So each of these APIs you can see at the API level. Now, if you recollect, inside this one API, for example, the items API, we have two operations, right? So you can also look at the analytics at the operations level, right? Let's click on operations, and there we go. So I have these two operations. These are the last two operations that we've created, right? Get item by item ID and get items by category code. So there we go. How many successful requests you've received, and for each of these operations, right? All of the analytics data that you can see here. Let me hit on today, so that because it doesn't show any data for the last 90 days, I think if I go to today's data, it should show me some analytics. Items by category code, 3 requests, one was unauthorized, right? There are 0 failed requests, total 4 requests. Average response time is 1.38 seconds, right? And data transfer is 8.4 KB. Right? So this is where you get the analytics at the operations level. Now, if you use this data, right, you can really make a lot of changes and you can optimize a lot of things. And let's hop onto the products tab. The products, if you remember, we have two products and you can create, as many products as you want, right? We've used the standard starter and unlimited, these two products, and then we add APIs to these products, right? At the product level you can configure a lot of settings. For example, if you're in a starter product, you can only call certain APIs certain number of times, you can plan all those throttling levels, so for example, if you're building the items API, and if you just want the mobile app developers to use them, you can create another product that would only be used by your mobile app developers, right? So that nobody else has access to those items API. So we have analytics at the product level. So far we have only used the starter product because the developer account that I have created, I've only used the starter product. So all of the analytics are at the starter product level. But again, this is also useful. You may have eventually 15, 20, 25 products, and you would want to know which product is used the most, right? And why it is used the most, and you can use that data to make certain changes if needed, right? Then you have subscriptions and users and requests, right? So all of these details, for example, if you go to the users level, then which user, for example, if it's going to be your mobile app developers, right, then they would be using a particular service account to call your APIs. You would be able to see that one particular user of this service account is calling these APIs at so many times or at what frequency, and how is the performance and everything, all the details, so this is the very basic analytics. But again, if you see, even with the basic analytics, there are so much of detail available to you. Right now, it's up to you how to make sense of this data and how to use this data to optimize your processes, to optimize your APIs, right? If one of your APIs started throwing hundreds of thousands of errors, then it would show you right here, and you would know that you need to take some action for that one API, right? So again, I'm strongly encouraging you to go through these other options here, right? It has alerts, so if you want to set certain alerts for certain rules, that if this API starts failing, let's say more than 10 number of times in 1 hour period, then you want to notify a group of people, right? You can use this alerts mechanism here. And there are, diagnostics and logs and a lot of other insights as well, right? I strongly suggest you go through them and start learning about all of them, start implementing all of them, so that you can use that in a real project when you get to work on one, right? I hope this is making sense to you. So analytics and monitoring is really important for any application, right? Without monitoring or analytics, you don't know how your application is performing. Go ahead and check out your own analytics. Let me know what you think, right? Thank you very much for sticking around. I'll see you in the next one.